Hi friends, good morning, almost afternoon. I hope you guys are all having an amazing Friday. I cannot believe it is already Friday. Coming home from vacation is really hard for me because I'm such a routine person that I have to dive in and give as much time as I possibly can the first few days just to get back to my routine because I am completely thrown out of whack when I leave, but it's all worth it for a vacation, right? So traveling with a toddler, let's just say that I don't think it should be called a vacation because it's a completely different world traveling with a toddler, especially to another country. I'm not saying that it wasn't an amazing time and it wasn't worth it or anything like that, but it's just very different. You don't get to just go to the beach when you want and lay there and sunbathe and read a good book. You just are in play mode, which is amazing, but I'm just saying you have to remember that going into it so you have the right mindset when you're entering this vacation with a toddler. But I really want to just talk about the actual airport flight process and things that I packed that were really helpful, things that I did before to prepare that were really helpful, and hear your tips too if you have some amazing ones. So I hate flying, so I'm very anxiety ridden probably a month before all of my trips. I know it's terrible. I don't know where it came from. But so I try to do as much in advance as I possibly can so that I can enter that day of travel with a clear mind and not have to worry about tying up loose ends or being extra stressed for last minute deadlines or anything like that. So early prep is my first tip that I'm going to talk about. And the number one thing, especially traveling out of the country, that I would highly recommend with kids is to apply, if you have enough time before your trip, apply for TSA pre-check. It's really not that expensive. You just set up an appointment with the TSA office at your local airport, and I can't remember what I paid. It wasn't that much, but they basically just interview you, you answer a few questions, and then they give you pre-check access. So what that means is that you don't have to stand through the security line. So you don't have to take off your shoes. You don't have to take out your electronics, your liquids, none of that crap. We literally just went to the front of the line and walked right through security, and it was amazing. We actually would have missed one of our flights if I didn't pre-check for us. So that was an amazing thing to have, and I'm pretty sure, because my parents aren't TSA pre-checked, but I'm pretty sure it's your whole group then that gets to go through that TSA security benefits if you are a TSA pre-check member. So check into that if you have enough time before your trip. If you don't have enough time before your trip, I'm pretty sure you can go online, and if you are traveling out of the country, if you enter all your passport information ahead of time and you do a couple other things, it might flag you as being pre-checked. So there are other ways around it that you don't have to go through that whole application process, but if you do travel a lot, it's worth every penny. And then if you do have a layover in your trip, I highly recommend making it a long layover, because long for us was about 2 hours. Then you're not rushing to get a toddler with little tiny legs across the end of the airport. If your flight's late or your connection's late, you don't have to worry about any of that. You can actually sit down and have a meal. You can let them race around. It was really helpful to not be rushed between flights. And then same if you have just a single flight, get there early, because I know it seems like you want to get there to the very last second and then just hop on the plane, but it actually was helpful to have a solid hour before to just let her race around and decompress and get used to the new atmosphere and things like that. And then the last thing in this category is to do everything beforehand that you possibly can. If you can check in early to your flight, do it. If you can get your seat assignment on your flight website, do that. If you can, pay for your bags ahead of time, do that. Anything that saves you time, not having to stop with a toddler, take out your wallet, do any of that sort of stuff, do it before you get there. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about, so number 2 is all about what to pack. And, you know, I'm happy to hear your suggestions or what works for you guys and stuff like that. And I know this is very age specific too. My daughter's 17 months, so this is what worked for us. I at first had started packing like coloring books and things like that. And I read somewhere to not bring coloring books, especially for a little one, and to instead buy a Magnadoodle. And that was genius because I thought on the plane how much of a disaster it would have been if crayons and markers would have been everywhere. But this way I had this tiny little Magnadoodle from Target. It was $5. The little pencil is attached to the Magnadoodle, and they can color and erase and color and erase, and all the pages, there's no pages or papers to lose. It's all right there on that little Magnadoodle. So that was amazing to have. I also bought at the dollar section at Target little window clings, those little rubbery things, instead of stickers. A lot of people will recommend stickers, and I just figured stickers would get stuck to, well, everything. So these were super helpful. She could stick them on the window and the seats ahead of us and take them off. They didn't leave any residue or mess or anything like that. So that was an amazing thing to have. Hand wipes. I went through tons of hand wipes. That was amazing to have on hand because once you're stuck in that airplane seat or even in the airport, you know, there's just kind of that crap everywhere, and it's impossible to keep them clean all the time, but they were great to have to quickly grab if needed. An iPad or something like that. We don't use an iPad at all at home, but we had a super old one that I downloaded a couple. She's really into Curious George right now, so I downloaded a couple Curious George episodes, and that was a lifesaver. You know, they only have an attention span of maybe 15-20 minutes, but it was great to have as another distraction. Tip for that: if you can, bring a portable charger for your device that you're bringing for them with movies or apps on it or whatever. Do that, because at one point the iPad had died and she's pointing at the iPad yelling, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, because, you know, Curious George is on there. And it was dead and you can't do anything, and you're like, I can't turn it on, and they don't understand why you can't turn it on. So having a portable phone charger worked for ours. That was really helpful and avoided a little meltdown as well. And then I don't like to throw gifts at kids either, but having a couple new toys to play with, I just went to the dollar store. And my mom got her this tiny little plastic dog, and she had never played with it before, but it distracted her for a very long time because it was new and it was fun and it was exciting. A little doll from the dollar store was new and fun and exciting, and she could open it up. So tiny little things like that you can introduce to them that are new, that will kind of distract and preoccupy their brain for a longer period of time than an old toy. I would suggest that. Their own little backpack was helpful, so then I didn't have all of her stuff stuck in my backpack, so if she was trying to take out her stuff, it wouldn't get my stuff everywhere. She had her own little space where she could destroy it as much as she wanted to. That was helpful, and she was proud of it. She wanted to wear it and carry it around and stuff like that. If you're packing a stroller, I highly recommend packing a super, super cheap stroller. Like, go to Burlington or whatever's around you that's like kind of a discount store and get a cheapo, because it will get damaged. My friend Carly lost, it got broken by the airlines. It actually missed their flight because of that. That's terrible. But ours came home in one piece, but it's very roughed up. It's full of urine because swim diapers do not hold pee in outside of the pool, so that's fun. It's full of urine, it's full of coffee, it's full of food, you name it, it's full of whatever it came in contact with. So bring a cheapie that you can just kind of toss around. And try to be a minimalist when you're packing. You know, less is better. They really don't need a lot as a little kid. Who cares if they wear the same thing a couple times, you know? That yes, they do spill all the time and they do need backups and stuff like that, but when you are packing like a backup outfit or something, pack light, you know? Like I picked her lightest leggings and like a little tank top and like a light jacket. I didn't want to bring these thick, bulky things that were going to take up space. And same with blankets. I chose to bring 2 super thin, like muslin kind of blankets instead of a thicker blanket, because then once one got dirty, we could just throw it in the other suitcase and they didn't take up a lot of space. Bring in extra Nook if your child uses a Nook, because it's going to get dropped or lost or anything like that. And those are great to have during takeoff and landing, and just to put a plug in it when you have to. And then if they do use a bottle or a sippy cup, I personally recommend only bringing 1, because it's just more space to take up the more you pack. But I would bring those. They make all sorts of brands, but like Medela brand for bottles and whatnot, they make quick clean little rags that will clean the inside of your bottle from breast milk or whatever you're using. And that was awesome for on the go, because you didn't have to have dish soap and, you know, a dishwasher or anything like that. You could just quickly rinse them out and they were good to go. And then you only needed 1. And then if they're old enough, I recommend maybe doing like a craft time before you leave and making some name bracelets or little ankle bracelets or something like that to pack along. You know, those little beads that have like letters and numbers. You can do their phone number or their name on there in case they were to you know, lose you. I know there's things that you can buy that are much more fancy than that, but that would just be a fun thing you could do together if they're old enough. Like I said, light layers and changes for clothes. For not just, I would pack an extra shirt for you because their sticky, gross hands are all over you and all that jazz, and for them as well. And then pack a grandma or a grandpa. If you can. I would highly recommend investing and bringing them along if they're as amazing as my mom and dad are, because, or a team of people, whatever you do, try not to travel alone if you don't have to, because you will need extra hands on deck for a task like that. It was so helpful to have them there and you know, teamwork with me through the weekend traveling with her. And a trip of a lifetime that we got to share together, so that was wonderful too. And then my third thing, Sarah, these would apply for a 14-month-old too. I mean, just modify to their activities or things like that. I think a 14-month-old would still like apps on an iPad or a show downloaded on there or something like that. They could still play with the window stickies, you know, things like that. Kind of just modify to whatever age your kids are. And then the third group of tips or topics is once you get there. So once you get to the airport, let them be as crazy and annoying as they possibly can be, because you'd rather let them annoy people in the airport than on the plane. At least I would. So she ran around like a crazy person, screaming her little butt off, yelling, laughing, you know, whatever, while we were waiting to board the plane. And I wanted her to get as much energy out as physically possible, so that once we got on the plane, she was pretty tuckered out. So that's why I also suggest getting there early. And if they're old enough to walk around, let them do that for sure. Another thing I didn't think about that we found out the hard way, Sydney's drinking, well, she doesn't drink, we drink flax milk, but she drank milk there because it was too hard to come by. But grab milk before you board the plane. So like after you go through security and at a little restaurant or shop there, because our planes, believe it or not, did not have milk. So I wish I would have filled up her bottle or sippy before we got on the plane. Be the last to board. That was super helpful. And then a window seat really helped us. She liked to open and close the little shutter. She liked to look out the window. And like I said, she could put the stickies all over it and all that sort of stuff. And then the last thing is to not introduce new things until they're bored with what they're currently doing. My mom just hopped on, so I'm gonna call her out. Hi, Mom. My mom likes to give everything all at once. And so, like, Sydney would just be getting a new toy, and she'd be like, here's another new toy, here's another new toy. But don't lose the opportunity to let them get bored first. So, like, give them that new toy, like I was telling you about that little dog that my mom got her. Until she's sick and bored of that little dog, don't show her a new toy. Because let's say you have 3 little dollar store thingies you can give them. Instead of only getting 15 minutes out of those 3 new things, you could stretch that to 15 minutes for each and get 45 minutes out of 3 new toys, because typically they'll play or fuss around with something for about 10 to 15 minutes. So that way you can stretch that whole distraction period out for much longer if you wait until they're disengaged or uninterested in whatever you just introduced. So be patient and let them get bored. So like the seat pocket in front of you with all of the little brochures and booklets and whatnot, that can buy you an hour just by paging through the stuff in there, pointing at the foods and pointing at the airplane parts and, you know, just random stuff like that. So try to be patient and let them clue you on when to introduce something next. Don't just assume you need to, you know, kind of keep them busy, because they'll keep themselves busy for quite a long time. But like I said, again, don't forget to pack the grandparents if you can, because they are hands down incredibly helpful and the only reason we survived this trip. And for me, also travel little mini alcohol, because you will need it. I promise you that. But those are my tips for traveling with a toddler. If you guys have any other amazing ones, let me know, because I'm probably going to bring Sid on a couple more trips if Grandma can go this year. So let me know if I missed anything, or if you have anything that you found helpful. I'd love to hear them. But you guys have a great Friday. I'll talk to you later.